Hello pilots and welcome to this X-Wing faction breakdown video brought to you by Out of Arc Gaming. As always, my name is Phil, and in this episode we'll be going through the standard ships available to you in the Separatist faction. As always, we'll look at each ship's stat line, their general role in the faction, any notable pilots and the pros and cons of each ship. So let's jump right in. Now, where better to start than with the humble Vulture Droid, a staple of the Separatist faction. This ship is going to feature in your list at some point, and most likely in numbers. This ship is most commonly used in a swarm of Vultures due to its low points cost and meagre stat line, utilising its inbuilt ability network calculations, which features on several ships in the faction to increase its usability. Additionally, with the config car grappling strut, you can use this as a stationary gun or even an objective holder. For the stat line, you're going to get 2 attack, 2 evade and 3 hull, making this one of the smallest ships in the game, not just by the model size. Action wise, you get calculate, target lock and barrel roll to red calculate. As mentioned previously, you get the network calculations, which allow you to use another friendly ship with network calculations calculate when they're at range 0 to 1 to change a focus to a hit or evade. This ship has an interesting die with access to all the hard turns, 2 to 4 straights and 2 and 3 banks. You'll also get access to the incredible 1k turn and 2 talon rolls, meaning you can turn this ship very quickly indeed. One of the big advantages of this ship is the grappling struts. With this, it allows you to park up to 2 vultures on an asteroid or debris field and use it as a mobile platform. With the introduction of objectives, this can be a great play to hold an objective and not worry about moving away from it. Looking at notable pilots, the one we're going to look at today is DFS 081, the Initiative 3 pilot. This ship really lives up to the Preservation Programming title with the ability for a friendly ship at range 0 to 1 to spend a calculate to turn all its crits to hits. When you don't have any shields, this is going to be a huge droid saver. Now, pros and cons of this ship: it's very cheap with all of the pilots either being 2 or 3 points. Additionally, as these are a great swarm list choice, the fact that you only have initiative 1s and 3s makes them a lot easier to fly together. A big downside is they can go down quite quickly if they get separated from the pack, so being able to fly them together is going to be very important. Next up, we have the Bellalub Starfighter that also came in the Servants of Strife pack, and in fact today is the only place you can get this ship. This is another great ship and looks fantastic. At the start of 2.0, this was used in one of 2 ways, either as a support for your vultures with the Kraken tactical relay, or as a bruiser, hunting your opponent's aces or big targets. Since 2.5 it has been restricted to the bruiser role, but that's okay. With 3 attacks, 2 evades, 3 hull and 2 shields, it has a really nice stat line. And the actions are no joke either, with focus, target lock, boost to red focus and barrel roll to red focus. You get some good repositioning with this ship. This ship has a solid dial with access to all the hard turns and banks, with the 1 hard being white. You get 3 sloops but only 4 blues, so this will require a little bit of pre-planning to remove any stress you may get. As mentioned earlier, this ship is now most commonly used as a bruiser hunting down targets, especially with our notable pilot General Grievous. His inbuilt ship ability, while you perform a primary attack, if you're not in the defender's firing arc, you may reroll up to 2 attack dice, is fantastic. Couple this with outmaneuver and you have a very powerful attacker. You'll also normally find Grievous stapled with the Soulless 1 title, giving you 2 more hull and the ability to reroll a defense dice if the attacker is outside your firing arc, and the impervious plating modification, which allows you to straight up discard up to 2 face up ship damage cards. An absolutely crazy ability. Now, pros and cons with this ship: it is a great chassis, especially with the right pilot. Grievous, for example, has access to the title and modifications without spending any loadout, meaning he still has 12 points to spend. You'll find that when choosing the ship you're generally only going to pick Grievous, which is a shame, as it used to be a great support for those droids with a tactical relay. Now, if you like the Vulture Droid but wish it had a bit more bulk and hard edges, then the Hyena is the ship for you. Continuing the trend of 2 attacks and 2 evades, with this ship you do get 5 hull. The action bars also had a tweak with calculate, target lock, barrel roll to red target lock and the red reload action. You get access to a very colourful dial, with the blues being the 2 hard and straight and 3 straight. You also have access to the 2K turn and tannon rolls, meaning you can quite quickly turn this ship around. This ship has been taking up your dedicated munitions role in your list, and various pilots have access to combinations of munitions and devices. Special mention to DBS-32C, who takes up the role of tactical relay carrier in place of the Bellalub now. This is another of those ships with the network calculation ship ability, which will come in very handy, and also has access to the landing struts config card to turn it into a munitions turret. Now, the ship we want to have a look at here is actually the Bactoid prototype. This is a ship that likes to run with a buddy, as its ability, while you perform a special attack, if a friendly ship with the network calculation ship ability has a lock on the defender, you can ignore the focus, calculate or target lock requirement. Given that it has a dual missile slot, that means you can actually use barrage rockets on this platform, or even take in proton rockets. Now, these munitions are not commonly found on this platform and can provide a nice surprise when you need it. Pros and cons with this ship: like the Vulture Droid, for what you get it's quite cheap, being either 3 or 4 points, and you do get a number of different options for loadout with various pilots. Its diet is a bit erratic, with it preferring the mid-speed manoeuvres, so you may need to plan ahead, and the lack of shields is always going to be tough. Now it's time for the pocket rocket, the Droid Tri Fighter. Though small in stature, this ship can sure pack a punch and is great at zipping around the board, causing an absolute nuisance. With 3 attack, 3 evade and 3 hull, it has a classic interceptor profile and has access to calculate, evade, target lock, barrel roll to red evade and boost to red calculate. It can manoeuvre around the board with ease. You can also equip the intercept booster for the addition of a white slam to red target lock to really get close in with your opponents, allowing you to do potentially a 2-5 turn in the first turn, really getting you across the board. This ship does like to go fast, and this dial really reflects this, as you have access to all the hard turns, with the 2 and 3 being blue. You have the 2 to 5 straight, a 1 tannon roll, a 3 and 5k turn, so you've always got the tricks to get you into the right position. This ship is great at hunting down slow moving targets and putting in some damage, as well as going after the aces. However, with the lack of a focus, it can struggle to truly push damage through. Like most droids, teamwork is key, and running 2 of these together is going to make this ship shine using the network calculations. Now, looking at notable pilots here, we're a big fan of the Fearsome Predator, especially with his ability to apply the Fearful Prey condition card to an opponent. With Fearful Prey, after you defend against the Fearsome Predator, if you did not spend at least 1 green token during the attack, gain 1 strain token. This really goes hand in hand with the teamwork aspect of the Separatists, as you can trigger this with up to 3 Tri Fighters, with the triple uniqueness of Fearsome Predator to whittle down an opponent. Do be aware that this condition itself is unique and can only be applied to 1 ship at a time. Now, pros and cons with this ship: it is really fun to fly and can be a real pain in your opponent's side and stick around far longer than you'd expect. But be careful though, if it gets separated from its wingmates, it can pop quite quickly. All of these pilots are only 4 points, so it comes down to which one takes your fancy as to which one you will fly at any given time. Continuing the trend of unique ships with interesting abilities, we have the HMP Droid Gunship. This is an odd ship in comparison to the previously mentioned ships. It has 2 attack dice and a 180-degree front arc, 1 evade, 5 hull and 3 shields. Action wise, you get calculate, target lock, red barrel roll and reload to red calculate. Now, the dial is where the ship really does become fun. Printed, you have a red stop, 1 to 5 straight, with the 1 and 2 being blue and 4 and 5 being red. All of the bank manoeuvres, with the 1 and 3 being red. A 2 blue hard and a white 3 hard. Now, you may notice there is no natural turnaround, but this is where the repulsorless stabilizer comes into play. During the setup, you equip this with the inactive side, reducing the difficulty of your straight moves. After you execute a move, you can then set it to the active side, which allows you to perform a bank or hard turn as a side slip instead, allowing you to get into some incredibly interesting and unexpected positions. Now when you do the side slip, you must flip the card to the inactive, so no drifting all around the board. But when you do use it, the ability to keep your guns on target a little bit longer is going to be key. Now this ship really does fill the gunship role, as they have access to a combination of special weapons from missiles to cannons and devices. It replaces its network calculation ability with networked aim, which means that you cannot spend your own target lock, but can reroll a number of attack dice for each friendly lock you have on the defender, making the XX-23s a really handy upgrade to have here. Our favourite pilot on this platform is the DGS-047, with his ability, after you perform an attack, if the defender is in your forward firing arc, you may acquire a lock on it. Then, if the defender is in your bullseye arc, it gains a strain token. Now it is a shame that this is only Initiative 1, so most of your ships may have shot at this point, but if you are running an I-1 swarm, this could be absolutely brutal. Overall, this is a really fun ship that has some interesting options to your force. It will take a bit of getting used to, as the ship ability is very unique compared to the rest of the droids in the faction. Now we come to the Nanyex, a ship that at one point was the bane of all players' existence, but has drastically fallen out of favour recently. This ship is a very lean stat line with 3 attack in the bullseye and 2 in the turret arc, 3 evades and 4 hull. It only has focus and evade for its actions, but don't worry, its ship ability has some tricks to cover this. The dial is very healthy, and it has access to all the hard turns, all the banks are blue, and it has a 2 and 3 blue straight and a 4 and 5 white straight. You can turn around with a 3 sloop and the 5k turn. Now, we mentioned its ship ability a moment ago, but it's called Pinpoint Tractor Array, and reads, you cannot rotate your turret arc to the rear. After you fully execute a manoeuvre, you may gain a tractor token to perform a rotate action. Just remember to rotate, it must be in a different arc after rotating, so no 360 no scopes here please. Now with this ship, you're most likely going to be include the gravitic deflection and the ensnare to really capitalise on the tractor tokens. Gravitic deflection reads, while you defend, you may re-roll 1 defence dice for each tracted ship in the attack arc, and ensnare, at the end of the activation phase, if you are tracted, you may choose 1 ship in your turret arc and range 0 to 1 and transfer 1 tractor token to it. Now tractor is nowhere near as powerful as it was, but reducing the defender's evade dice and giving you a reroll is always going to be positive if you ask us. Looking at notable pilots, we kind of have to go with Sunfac here, not only because he is an I6, which is lacking in this faction, but he can also roll an additional tack dice if the defender is tracted, meaning a range 1 bullseye shot is 5 dice, which is always going to be very nice. Now with this ship there are a lot of downsides, however. If you do not manage to pull off the tractor transfer, you limit your defensive options, and with tractor not being as powerful anymore, you're not able to tractor onto obstacles for instance, it just doesn't feel quite as powerful. It is however a very unique ship to see on the board now in 2.5, and Sunfac in particular can be equipped with 3 talons now for some serious extra spice. Now the latest ship added to the Separatist faction roster, and we spoke about this in our Scum breakdown, but it does have a slightly different playstyle here for the Separatists. We have the Rogue class Starfighter. With this you'll have the same stat line as the Scum variant of 2 attacks, 2 evades, 5 hull and 2 shields. The action bar will differ, as most of the pilots will replace the focus with calculate, so instead now you have calculate to either red boost or red barrel, evade to red barrel roll, target lock or red boost. Another key difference with the Separatist variant is that other than Cad Bane, they lose the dead to rights ability and gain network calculations, which helps it synergise with the more common Separatist ships. The dial stays exactly the same for this ship as well, so if you've been playing it in Scum and looking to play it in Separatist, you're going to know exactly how this ship moves. Generally you'll find that this ship is going to be a solid platform for cannons in the main, but the Magna Guard does provide the guarded condition to 1 ship. While the defender is not in the bullseye of the attacker, they may roll 1 additional defense dice for each calculating or evading Magna Guard protector in the attack arc, giving greater support to a high value target. Now the pilot we want to actually have a look at here is IG-111 Old One Eye, who has the ability, after you perform an attack that misses, you may choose one enemy ship in your bullseye arc and gain 1 deplete. If you do, that ship suffers 1 damage. Now, being an I-1, this could potentially be the final hit point you need to take an opponent out of the game and possibly off an objective, but it is a really fun ability for those times that the dice are not playing fair. Now, positives for this ship is the ability to equip some good cannon options, meaning you can do some serious damage to your opponent, and having network calculations really ties this in with the rest of the squadron. It's still quite a new ship, so it can take a bit of getting used to, and we're not quite sure exactly where the major downsides are for it, but at the moment we think it's an absolutely fantastic ship. Now, another ship that we covered within the Scum faction, we have the Firespray. Now, this is an amazing addition to the faction and brings some great pilots to the game. With the exact same stat line as its Scum counterpart, 3 attack dice in the front and back, 2 evades, 6 hull and 4 shields. You get focus, target lock, red reinforce and boost all in a medium base package. With a versatile dial including the weight hard 1, 3 talon rolls and 4 K-turn, you can move around the table with relative ease. This ship is an absolute powerhouse in the game. With the dual arcs, is able to more consistently keep guns on target whilst using its munitions and cannons to great effect. In the Scum video we spoke about Boba, as this is after all a ship synonymous with him, but in the prequel era it was Jango Fett who was feared when flying this ship. A simple man he may be, but his ability is anything but that. While you defend or perform a primary weapon attack, if the difficulty of your revealed maneuver is less than that of the enemy ship, you may change one of the enemy ship's focus results to a blank result. Now, with the incredibly solid dial it's got there, it's going to be quite likely that you are going to be doing a less difficult move than your opponent. Now, that ability does reward patient play, but if you prefer the raw aggression, you can equip the Slave 1 title. When performing a forward arc attack, if you are in the defender's rear half, you can change 1 hit to a crit. And you can also add a gunner slot to this as well. With a hefty 27 points of loadout, Jango can be tooled up just the way you want him. Now, Jango's not the only pilot you get on the Firespray, you also get access to Zam Bessel with her abilities on there, which are, although very wordy, absolutely fantastic. Now, this ship has all the same pros and cons of the Scum version. A fantastic option for having an I6 in your Separatist faction, which again, as we said, is quite lacking. The Firespray is very much going to be your leadership role within your Separatist squadron, and you'll be building around it rather than looking just to include it. The top 2 pilots are very expensive, so you want to be careful not to lose them early, as that makes it a very big hill to climb to bring back in the game. But overall, those dual arcs and that dial are what make this ship absolutely work. And rounding off the Separatist faction for now, we have the Sith Infiltrator, made famous in the Phantom Menace. This ship is truly iconic in the prequel era. It is the only faction-specific large base ship for the Separatists. However, we will be doing a separate video for the various factions of the Gauntlet very soon. This ship has a pretty standard stat line, although it is very light for a large base ship, with 3 attack, 1 evade, 6 hull and 4 shields, giving it the same hit points as the Firespray. Action wise, you'll get as standard focus, target lock and the red barrel roll. This ship does have an impressive dial and can really get around the table with all of the hard turns, with the 1s being red, all of the banks of 1 and 2 being blue. You get the 1 through 3 blue straight and a 4 white straight, but most impressively you get the 2 sloop and a 5 K-turn on a large base ship. This ship would generally fill a leadership role, being supported by a mini swarm or as a distraction for some fast moving aces. It's a great platform with which to deploy the DRK-1 probe droids to increase the range you can acquire your target locks. Now, Darth Maul and Dooku can equip the Scimitar title card, which add the red cloak action and the white jam to the ship, and also gives it the nice ability, after you decloak, you may choose an enemy ship in your bullseye arc. If you do, it gains 1 jam token, and this is in the system phase, so that's going to be very handy. Now, looking at pilots here, we have to go with Darth Maul. Now, he does add to the stat line with 3 force points, which are going to be incredibly useful for his ability. after you perform an attack, you may spend 2 force to perform a bonus primary attack against a different target. If your attack missed, you may perform that bonus primary attack against the same target instead. Now this is going to be very good for breaking up swarms or ships flying in formation, or even stripping tokens and then taking advantage of that by double tapping that original ship if you missed. All in all though, this ship, whilst iconic and very cool looking on the board, is expensive for what it is and will go down quite easily due to the 1 evade dice and only 10 health. The dial and force on the main named pilots are going to help somewhat, but there are better options within this points bracket. Well, there you go guys, that is all the standard ships you can expect to see in the Separatist faction. Do let us know in the comments if you think we have missed any particular pilot that you're a big fan of and why they should have been included. And if you haven't come across the Separatists before, we hope this really helps for you to prepare against them. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the link in the description for our Patreon, and we will see you next time. Starting October 10th on Out of Arc Gaming, 12 pilots take on the challenge to see who can claim the title of Ace Pilot in Flight Academy Season 3. 9 games stand between one pilot and immortality. Who will emerge victorious and who will be left picking up the pieces of their broken dreams? Find out next week.